Hope all is well with you. This video is something that I wanted to kind of do, and it kind of happened at the right time, meaning that I was on a trip in Vancouver, had a really good trip, and you know, I am a coffee roaster, so I roast my own coffee. There's no need for me to really buy other people's coffee, but this time I was like, what about you guys? What about the audience? What do you care about? So I'm gonna show you some of the things that I do in order to taste coffee that I bought from somewhere else. This is the coffee company, Palette Coffee Roasters. Really cool bag. See all the information on the bag. And the reason why I picked this one is the 12-ounce bag. It's probably about $16, $17 for the bag, which is right on par with, I'd say, on a lower scale of specialty with pricing. With taste, we'll see. It says it's easygoing, easy drinking, smooth crowd pleaser. It also says David Flores, Finca del Morito, and origin is Peru, varietal yellow cultura, and washed. That's the process. I usually go for washed coffees, and for the most part, coffees, most of them smell good. So that's not really what gets me going as much as it should, but most of the time it smells really good. It reminds them of sweet citrus with toffee, papaya, and subtle cocoa. So the way I usually dial in or taste the coffee is not through cupping. That's the story for another day or whatever. If you want to hear me talk about cupping more, let me know. I've already done some videos that are coming and we can talk about that later. But usually the way that I go about tasting coffee is through the Hario V60. This is my Hario V60 and I'll be using the regular filters. They said that it's a medium roast. So for the most part, we're gonna take them on their words about that. And the person that I talked to when I was actually buying the coffee, they really weren't that knowledgeable, which is perfectly fine. At the end of the day, you're just gonna have to trust your judgment and when you go ahead and buy coffee. It smells good. It smells like good roasted coffee. There's a lot of fruit on it. I do smell that. Let me get something to see through so you can see what I'm looking at. So just by the look of it, it does look like a medium roast. It does. So for a lot of times when you get a coffee, let's see if it will focus. Okay, I think it will. A lot of times when you get a coffee, you kind of see what you're gonna go for. And I guess in this case, it is a medium roast. I prefer medium roast over light roast and dark roast. Just to cheat a little bit, which you don't have this with you at all. But since I have it, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this for you of what things that I go through when it comes to seeing what I'm gonna get myself into when it comes to tasting coffee, enjoying coffee, tasting it, enjoying it, okay? So we're gonna get an outer bean reading. 81, it's 81 outside bean, okay? So that's a lighter roast so far. So whole beans, 81, ground, we're about to find out. But we're gonna do 10 grams of coffee, okay? Because one of the things that you probably have gone through is that coffee is expensive. And besides, I don't wanna waste product. And since you paid so much money for the coffee, it smells awesome. It smells really good. But like I was saying, since you paid so much money for this coffee, you just wanna make sure you're not wasting it. You're just trying to get a reading of what we're doing or tasting, just to kind of get a gauge of, okay, which way we're gonna go. And usually I'm using the Baratza Encore. I usually like to start tasting my coffees at a 20 clicks for the Baratza Virtuoso. That's just a good starting place. Of course I go coarser, finer, depending on the coffee. So we're gonna see what we're working with. 80. So seems like it was nicely roasted just fine, but it's an 80, so this is a lighter roast. This is a very light roast, which is fine. No complaints. Well, we'll see. And now we're gonna brew. So from what we gather so far, this coffee is mostly roasted evenly, okay? And a lot of times that's more so like a gauge. Sometimes it does make it mean that you're gonna be tasting some really good cup of coffee, but you know, maybe not. Maybe a different ratio of ground reading and whole beans readings is what you need in order to have a fantastic cup. But at the end of the day, this is what we're dealing with. This is the product that we have. We're not roasting it anymore. We're brewing it, right? So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways as we do this experiment or this tasting, is that we're working with what we have. So there's no go backs. There's no like, hey roaster, could you do this a little bit more lighter or darker, or could you take it a little bit longer on that profile on the developmental stage? This is what we got. This is what we got, okay? But we're gonna do it anyway. So it's about 28, and we're gonna do 15 to 1. And we're gonna do a couple of pulses. So we're about 180 right now. I didn't put a timer on it, sorry. Again, we're just tasting the coffee. We're not trying to do any barista competitions or, you know, different things like that. We're just taking in the coffee. Let's go ahead and smell it. That fruit forward comes in. I do smell like the little bit of the melon type of smell on it. So far so good. We're not gonna do a TDS reading, nothing like that. We're done with the gear stuff, okay? Our gear is our nose, our mouths, our palate, and past times where we've drank coffee. I think that's extremely critical and important, that we trust ourselves, that we drink it and understand it for what it is, and then enjoy it. And then from there, then that's where we can tweak, either go finer on the grind, probably use a different paper, probably even do at different temperatures. Right now, the temperature is at 190. It should be a little bit lower than that because of the kettle's been sitting with me for a little bit. So let's go ahead and put some more water in here. It's a slow drawdown. So next time it may be beneficial for me to use the faster filters when we are brewing a cup of coffee. It may make a difference. Again, I'm on the fence about this whole fast filter versus regular filter thingy. I do prefer a regular filter. It does a decent job, but I am seeing some benefits in the faster filters, mainly on dark roast. I like the way the bed looks. It looks more evenly distributed, you know, better extraction from that coffee. That's the thing that I'm really noticing with those filters. So as you can see, we're probably over, I don't know, I can do the math later on, but we're gonna take this to 420, single pour, 419. So we're good there. So if I had to guess, this is a 3.5 minute brew. And from my eyes, that's what the bed looks like. So we're so far hitting home runs. This is one of the cups I got from Vancouver too. Somebody just gave it to me. Well, I asked to pay for it and they didn't know really what to do. So they just kind of just gave it to me. Thank them for that. Like I said, I do Hario B60 quite a bit because it lets me know what I'm getting myself into. It's an easier gauge for me to know like where I should go finer or not, or do little tweaks in that from later on. So let's go ahead and taste this coffee. Okay, it's not as pronounced. It actually works really well as a lighter roast, as I can tell. This coffee is August 12th. Today is Sunday the 25th. So 2 weeks off of roast, which is good. I tend to wait at least a week, a month and a half. That's still pretty good to me. And it's already in this protective seal, so you know it's still nicely fresh. Flavors are more subtle. You do get acidity in the beginning, but then it dies off. So it's not like strong, impactful type of acidity on this cup of coffee. I do taste more of like a coffee type of taste, like a diner type of coffee taste, even like a Brazilian. So you get more of the chocolatey type of nutty notes after you get the acidity, and then it just dies down from there. So I can see how they can say that this is a crowd pleaser. Things what I would do differently, I don't know. Let's keep drinking it because to me, it gets better as it cools. I'm really surprised how the acidity isn't as forward with this lighter roast. I don't think this coffee would have been more presentable as a medium roast, just because you'll probably lose all the acidity of what it has already in a medium roast and a dark roast. Is the coffee sweet? I wouldn't say so, not really. We can probably play around with different parameters as we were thinking about this coffee a little bit more. A lot of times I just sit here and just wonder and ponder about coffees. Sometimes you may have a notebook of how you're gonna actually go about enjoying or loving or figuring out this coffee, seeing if there's different things that you can change. Write them down or don't. Keep that in your mental, head of like, okay, I've done this before. What am I tasting in this coffee? Do I like the way it tastes? Do I want to change it up? Do I want to try it as an espresso just to kind of see what the true essence of the intense flavors that you get from coffee as an espresso, and see how you can dial it in, dial it differently as you go about the different applications that you have when you are actually drinking this coffee throughout its lifespan with you. This coffee, I did about 30 grams, so I'm not going to do another one right now. I'm still going to just think it out, think it through, and understand what I'm drinking, and just sit here for a little bit. It is a crowd pleaser. It's not offensive. It works for a majority of people. I'm wondering if I should go probably a little bit finer to see if I can taste a little bit more of the acidity, you know. And again, I'm not using extra stuff because you're not using extra stuff. You're using your palate, you're using your mind, you're using all the things that you've done before in order to enjoy or figure out the coffee the way it is. I think it's brewed nicely. I don't know what other things I should really change. I may up the temperature a little bit to make sure that it is a true 190 degrees Fahrenheit, to see if that matters that much. I don't really think it does. I think it did extract what it needed to from this coffee. I think it is properly extracted. And I'm wondering if I can get more character out of the coffee. Those are some of the things that are going through my head right now as I'm trying to understand, enjoy this beverage, you know. And again, I don't know if you do this. These are just some of the things that I think about a lot. And it may be even fun to do this particular thing that I'm doing right now with other people. See, that's the thing about this. It's just we can enjoy coffee so many different ways. And I think one of the ways that we can really truly enjoy coffee is with people. Talking about the coffee, talking about cheese, talking about life. It doesn't matter. That's the beauty of it. It's just the introduction, right? So like I said, the acidity is subtle. It's there. It hits you in the beginning. It's more like to me, like a slightly overripe Granny Smith apple. So the acidity is there, but then since it's overripe, the sweetness just dies down quickly, you know, so to speak, if that makes any sense. And then on the finish, it's kind of like clouded or more so meshed in with the coffee-like taste, the chocolate type of coffee type of diner type of taste. And again, when I say diner, that doesn't mean it's bad. I'm just telling you that that's kind of like more so what I'm tasting right now. And one of the other things I think about too is the Hario V60 the best application for this particular coffee? Should I use a flat bottom? Will that make it any better? What about the mocha pot? The mocha pot can probably make this better too. Yeah, I think it will intensify it in the right way. That's probably the next thing that I do try, just because it's probably right in between an espresso and also just a regular filter coffee. It may bring it up a level to where that's where I prefer it. So this bag may be more so like a mocha pot coffee. It just depends. I just have to try it out in those different ways. So if you're doing the math, 340 grams of coffee, I've used 30, so I've used about 10%. So when I make it again, either by myself, I'll use about 10 to 15, 20 grams here and there. So we can probably get about, I would say about at least 10 to 20 iterations or trials at this coffee. So those are some of the things I'm thinking about too, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a bag of coffee. Would you try it again? You probably won't. You probably want to move on to something else. I'm not saying that the coffee's not good, but you also have to think about like, okay, what am I tasting right now? What's the adventure that I'm going on? What's the journey that I'm going on? Things that I'm trying to really anticipate with this coffee. We're just enjoying it for a short time. And as we try to enjoy the coffee for a short time, we try to think about the lifespan that we have with this coffee. So that's what I got for you right now. Let me know what you think. If there's different things that you go about making your cup of coffee, let me know. I'd be curious to know how you go about it. Do you do something similar? Do you do a cupping? Do you do an espresso first? Do you do a filter? How do you do it? You know, we're just sharing common things, you know. We're the same, but we're different. So talk to you later. Bye.